Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Connor here. Apologies there. I think I was just the countdown just got off. But yeah, here we are. Leeds United. I'm seeing a lot of people saying they want enthusiasm and positivity. I'm finding it. Okay, let me just find some glimmers of hope. Okay, so there are far easier tests to come, aren't they? You know, Leeds United, there are far easier tests to come. That was a tough one. That was a tough watch. That was painful for me in particular. There seems to be a lot of Leeds fans who are just like, let's get up, let's move on. You're right, 100%, but that doesn't mean we can't hurt. At this moment in time, it's painful. It really is painful. Leeds at Old Trafford now have been smashed 6-2 and 5-1. That's 11 goals in 2 games. I don't deem that acceptable at all. No meltdown from me whatsoever. I'm just really, really hurt at this moment in time. I got back up to the big time in terms of Leeds United. You know, I had 3 season tickets in League One with always the dream of playing this lot and doing them over with the top manager and being back there and believing and dreaming and seeing Leeds United go there and really cause them problems. And towards the back end of last season, I was really enthused by the fact that we'd got a 0-0 draw. We were good. We kept them quiet and all this sort of stuff. And it was great to see. And I thought we were going to see something like that today. It was going to be difficult. They announced Varane, of course. They did great tactic, by the way, Manchester United. The crowds were back. We were loud. They were loud. That's obviously going to help, 73,000 of their fans being back in there. But I just expected so much more. It was a really poor performance from Leeds United from start to finish. You can sugarcoat it all you want. It was a really, really, really poor performance. Couple of breakouts, couple of nice counter-attacks. Obviously, we scored. We scored, a great goal from Luke Ayling, which we'll get onto in a little bit. But overall, it was a poor performance. Listen, it was the basics from Leeds. I'm never going to come on here and be like, oh, we're rubbish. We should have beaten them, that, and the other. Listen, they are a team who are comprised of, I think they've spent more money than Manchester City in the past 10 years or something like that. The Grealish money might have tipped them over the edge in terms of City versus Manchester United. But they spend a hell of a lot of money on that squad. You know, Paul Pogba was worth 90 million. Harry Maguire, however, 80 million. That in itself is more than our entire squad, and probably our entire squad 23s and Bielsa staff put together. So that's the metric of it. That's what you've got to look at. But I feel that when we got that 0-0 draw, it really gave us some enthusiasm in terms of how to approach the game. And the basics were just so off today. So many individual performances were off, and we'll get into that. But passing, sloppy passes, 5-yard passes. I always go on about it. You guys always laugh about it, but it is the 5-yard passes, into the channel. Dallas getting the ball, moving into the channel. The 5-yard ball goes astray. Jack Harrison can't quite make that 5-yard pass to Patrick Bamford. It goes astray. And these are the fine margins in football that obviously create attacks and enable you to get really good chances and offensive threats. And I just felt Leeds were completely off it today, And throughout pre-season, it's been pretty poor, to be honest. I thought the Villarreal game was definitely a step up, but throughout, as I've said, they've been good teams, very, very good teams. And as I have to keep saying on these reviews, as a caveat, this isn't a meltdown. This isn't, we're going to get relegated. It's nothing like that. Just on today's performance, I thought there was individually a lot of errors and a lot of sloppiness, and it did feel that the occasion got to us once again. I felt in the 6-2 game, the occasion got to us within the first 3 or 4 minutes. If I'm not mistaken, there was 4 goals conceded when it was 1-1. There was 4 goals conceded in a shorter space of time, in a lesser amount of time than the 26 minutes that the 4 goals were scored in the first game. And I just felt Leeds never bounced back. We never bounced back, and that is Leeds United. We're all about bouncing back. You saw that last season, and you'll see that this season. Leeds have got Everton coming up. When we played Manchester United last season, we then went and beat Burnley. We then went and beat West Brom. So there will be a bounce back. I'm fully confident in this side, but I can't get on board with this whole rhetoric and this whole notion of, we move on. This is a massive game. They'll pretend it doesn't matter to them. It matters to them. Trust me. I've got a lot of Man United fans as mates. It matters to them. We all hate Leeds scum. The noise that they were making today, certain other things that were happening around the game, it means a lot to them as well. A hell of a lot to them. And you could see that today in the elation when they beat us and they spanked us, really. 6-2, 5-1. It's not the best reading. And the most annoying thing, I think, is just the fact that this will we'll know this now for years and years to come. You know, even through the 90s and the noughties, really, you never really saw Leeds get absolutely pumped by Manchester United. There weren't standout results where you thought, wow, Leeds got battered that time. I think Karol Poborski scored at Ellen Road once when they beat us 4-0. Cantona might have scored a penalty. But you never look throughout the sort of 90s and noughties and think, wow, they give us a real tonk in there. You know, in the space of 2 years, there's now a 6-2 and a 5-1 at Old Trafford. And yet, just the expectation was that Leeds were going to go there with a little bit more resilience. Obviously, the team lineup massively dictated that. We all saw the lineup, and if you genuinely thought we're going to maybe come out there and pick a result up, then you were a more optimistic person than I was. We'll get into some of the individual performances in a bit anyway, guys. But I hope you're okay. It's difficult, isn't it, at this moment in time? Paul says, well pissed off. No fight, Cooper, no leader or passion. If KP gets injured, Connor, I think we're in serious trouble. Click and Rodrigo never works. Yeah, some great comments coming on. Tom says, stop worrying. It's only pre-season. We'll play quality against scum. How do we like those apples? I'm not sure what that means, mate. But yeah, just didn't click, as Jake says. Lost concentration after the equaliser. Completely agree, mate. But yeah, listen, as I say, 37 games left. Are Leeds going to get relegated? Of course we're not. You know, I think Leeds will do really well this season. I think we're going to solidify a really nice position at the end. We'll be laughing at this, and it'll all come round, and we'll probably have a really good result against Manchester United again. It will happen. We'll play them at Ellen Road. There'll be a packed out Ellen Road, and it wouldn't surprise me if we beat them 1-0. Genuinely wouldn't. We had a real. We've got it just signifies today, and the win ratio, the completion is something like from 13%, to 20% in terms of the win percentage with Calvin Phillips in the side. And it was just so astronomically clear today how much we missed him. The anchor in the midfield, we all know it. And missing him is absolutely huge. And, you know, we'll touch on Robin a little bit. I don't blame him at all because Robin is a centre-back. And that was clear in pre-season, in my personal opinion. I came on the review shows and I said that, yeah, I didn't feel that he's a central midfielder. I don't feel that he has. When he gets the ball, he distributes it quick enough. I don't think he breaks up play in a defensive capacity just ahead of his back four that well in that midfield role. I don't feel that he uses his body enough as a central defensive midfielder. But Leeds weren't able to do anything. What else could we have done? Played Forshaw? You know, and this is the whole depth chat, isn't it? This is why, you know, we're talking about LUFC Lewis and we're chatting about, me and Lewis were chatting about what the options are. For me, it just cries out because we talk about versatility. We talk about square pegs, round holes, and we think to ourselves, well, Strout can play central defensive midfield. Forshaw can play defensive midfield. Llorente can play defensive midfield. Robin Koch can play defensive midfield. I wouldn't ever say Llorente is going to be a central defensive midfielder. I think he's a mainstay centre-back for us. I think we all know that. Strout's played in that central defensive midfield role. I think he's all right. He's fine. But as a rotation option, I would still worry about putting him in there. I don't think he does things quick enough in this system. And Robin, I think we've seen through pre-season and we saw today, his natural position is centre-back. It's just the understanding of the game in that role. And Leeds don't have enough time to be able to give Robin sort of 8 to 9 games, let's say hypothetically, to get used to that role, which it's going to need that in this Leeds United system if he is to get used to that central defensive midfield role, because Calvin's going to come back and then Robin's going to convert either to centre-back or on the bench again. So it's very difficult to mould him as a central defensive midfielder. And you saw that today. The amount of any football game, as we all know, is won and lost in the midfield. Leeds lost the midfield at Old Trafford. Leeds lost the midfield battle at Old Trafford when we lost 6-2. I felt we won the midfield battle at Ellen Road. Today was probably the most convincing loss of a midfield battle I have seen in a long time. It was a mauling for me in the midfield. There was runners left, right and centre. Bruno Fernandes was getting acres of space. They were actually quite wasteful, I thought. They were actually quite wasteful in the chances. You know, you look at Pogba, you look at Bruno when he went through on goal. Dan James had a strike, which was a good save by Meslier. You know, it really was. They were able to gain so much momentum through the midfield. And we were speaking earlier, weren't we, guys, about in the preview about, and I was so hyped up about it, but about Rodrigo and Click not having that partnership in there, just from a personal vantage point, because we saw what happened last time at Old Trafford. and they're not going to change how they play. You know, they're defensively very decent at the back, in my opinion. I think they've improved there, and they'll hit you on the counter attack. Their Leeds is perfect kryptonite, if you will, and we've seen that in sort of 3 games, because the 0-0 we had to sit back completely, and the other 2 games when we've gone for it, we've gone blow for blow, we've been picked apart, and it happened as I was just saying today. And Click was quite good on the ball, I thought. You know, when he's coming forward, he was decent on the ball. I thought he was getting them and you know, trying to look for Rafinha all the time and Harrison and trying to look at different avenues and different venues. I thought he was okay going forward. But it is that defensive questioning with Click that's always sort of leveled at him. And you do get that with Rodrigo as well. There was phases today, if you look at the game again, if you watch the game back on Match of the Day, or you're able to access the game again, where Rodrigo is, you know, Manchester United are coming forward, and Rodrigo is stood next to Bamford. He stood next to Bamford. And that's a huge problem in this system. So when you've got Click, who is getting, you know, Freddie's running past him consistently. You've got McTominay, who once again looked like Zidane against us, which seems that he has his best games against Leeds United. When that happens consistently, when they're able to run off our central midfielders, it's a big problem for Leeds, because then going forward, they're so effective. And as a caveat, I will say their squad is ridiculous. It is a ridiculous squad. And we really, if you look at it, are supposed to get beaten by them because of just the plethora of talent they have. You know, still today, what was it? Cavani was out. Varane wasn't playing. You know, and when you see our squad, when Phillips isn't playing, just as a mainstay, Leeds really struggle to grab hold of the game. And, you know, when we were at Old Trafford, I think we had, it was Phillips, Click and Rodrigo when we lost 6-2. And this time it was Cott, Rodrigo and Click. So the midfield was considerably weaker, but we couldn't do anything about that in terms of personnel. I would have put Dallas in there straight away. Firpo looked good when he came on. He didn't seem to be that injury plagued. Listen, I'm not a fitness coach. I'm not a conditioning coach. I don't know. I have no idea what his condition was. But sometimes I think, you know, if you're able to be on the bench, then you're fit enough to play, really, you know. And Leeds really have got to figure that one out in terms of Calvin Phillips. What do we do going forward? Because as I was saying with the central defensive midfielders earlier, that's not working for me. When a lot of people think it's all right, but maybe it's just against the top 6 sides. But I think maybe when Robin goes in there, I think he needs a build-up of games in there, which he's never going to get in this Leeds United side. I think the same with Strauch as well, to properly understand the system and how we play and how we move and the transitions. But, you know, if Phillips isn't there, Leeds need to figure out a way. If it's a different system we play in terms of maybe, you know, a 3-1-3, sorry, or you know, I don't know, whatever it can be, you know, bring another player in it, an Angel Herrera who can just come in and seamlessly transition into that role and do a job as a midfielder, not as a centre back coming into midfield. That's what we need. And I think Leeds have got to figure out this problem, because every time Calvin is out of this side, we do struggle. We do really struggle to dictate games and get hold of games. And you've seen that when Calvin has been out. You know, you've seen a lot of teams really dominate Leeds for periods of the game in midfield. But when Calvin's there, you saw that at Ellen Road. At Ellen Road, Bruno Fernandes was in Calvin's pocket. He couldn't get out. He was stuck. He was stuck in Calvin's pocket. Absolutely couldn't get out of it. Calvin worked him out, figured him out. Leeds got the balance right, and it was brilliant. And Bruno was completely ineffective. Today, he nearly ended Robin's career. He ran Robin Cott all over the pitch, and he couldn't deal with him. It was concentration. The goals that he scored, Robin would leave him. He'd completely leave him. He wouldn't know where he is. He'd be looking over his shoulder. Bruno would be in. And it is... It's just difficult sometimes when you see just aspects of concentration, and maybe that is where we're at as a team. You know, it is the aspects of concentration and the aspects of focus, which maybe you don't take into consideration. You just think about the natural playing ability and the mentality, but the focus in game, there's levels. You know, there is levels in the Premier League. There's an elite level of focus, and I think that's what Manchester United have. But yeah, I think, as I've said, guys, if you have just joined, there are far easier tests coming for Leeds United. We played a top team there today, a really top team with a breadth of player in every single position. And I can't, I'm not going to come over. I'm not going to come over here and be bitter and all this sort of stuff. It is just massively frustrating for a Leeds United fan. To put in 2 consecutive performances at Old Trafford where you thought you'd learn, and it's a mirror effect of the first one, which is an absolute battering. So yeah, I mean, I think we all expected them to come in and not be fit. I expected them to come in. They played against Everton, which weren't really a blueprint of us. We were a more intense team than Everton. Obviously they lost to QPR. You can't read too much into pre-season, but their pre-season wasn't great like ours. It wasn't ideal. So I was expecting them to come in. You've got Sancho who's been at the Euros, Shaw's been at the Euros. You've had Maguire. They've got a lot of players who've been into depths of some competitions over the summer months. So you're expecting Leeds to maybe actually have the fitness edge. But I think when that team lineup came out, it was a little bit of a sucker punch to all Leeds fans, because we thought to ourselves, that's a lot to make up. They've still got quality absolutely everywhere. Pogba's never started a game against us. And when Pogba's never started a game against Leeds United, that just shows the depth of the opposition. It really does. And I came into it thinking that they'd be a little bit tired, and they weren't. They came out. There was the stronger side for the first 13 minutes. I think they had 4 corners within the first 13 minutes, and I think I've just seen it there. I think someone's just mentioned it. There, Leeds look like deers in headlights, and that's the problem, isn't it? It's getting to this game, reducing the adrenaline, thinking to yourself, look, it's okay. We just keep it tight. I know they're going to be absolutely quality, and they're going to come on to us, and it's easier me saying this now, hindsight after the game, but let's just keep it chilled for 10 minutes and not be, misplacing passes. Well, there was times in that first 10 minutes when Leeds were trying to one-touch pass it out of our own half. And the Bielsa style of football is absolutely beautiful. It's emphatic. It's where we are today. It's how we've got to where we are today. But when you're one-touching it and those one-touches are going astray, and then they're picking it up in the midfield, and they've got 3 men over because we're completely at that moment in time defensively inept because we're on the left-hand side, and it was just so disjointed, and you can tell that by how I'm articulating it. You always felt when they were coming forward, they were going to score a goal. But yeah, keep getting your comments in, guys. I genuinely thought the high press killed us as well. Leeds are normally a side that we're decent when we're playing out from the back, but when the opposition team really high presses with quality, Leeds do struggle. And Robin, I'm not solely blaming him, of course I'm not, but when he's not able to show for the ball like Calvin Phillips is, get it on the back foot, want the ball in tricky situations, it's going to be difficult for Leeds to build up from the back because we can't move through the transitions. We can't go from the defence to the midfield because we're having a central defensive midfield there who normally in Calvin is who we play through and is the anchor, isn't there. And we have nothing to replicate his style of play. That's where it becomes really, really difficult, I think. But yeah, I've just got down here that I thought Strauch had a pretty tough game today. Rafinha, a really, really tough game. He was poor today, and I'm the one who compliments him loads. He's my favourite player. I'd pretty much have him on the back of every single Leeds United shirt if I could. I love him. I don't think I've ever given him any criticism. There is a difference, by the way, guys, between criticism and abuse. This is just a match review. I absolutely love Rafinha. I'm sure he's a lovely bloke. But I thought he was poor today. Misplaced passes. He was tripping himself up. I thought Luke Shaw at Old Trafford did a job on him. Last time out, I thought he kept him very quiet, and he's done it again today. Luke Shaw, he kept Rafinha very, very quiet today, and I thought he struggled to get into the game, as did Jack Harrison. Bamford was completely isolated. So you're looking at the transitional movement, really. The midfield, in terms of getting the ball, I thought Matthias Klick was the only one who was going in and asking for the ball and trying to progress. I thought Robin was finding it very, very difficult in there to get hold of the ball, open his body and move out. So then the transitions are completely breaking down. The defence is struggling to keep hold of the ball, then pass it through to the midfield. And then when the midfield gets the ball, the attack is breaking down in attack consistently. So it was a very, very different and difficult game for Leeds United today. And I feel, in a way, as I've mentioned at the start, they are a little bit kryptonite to us just because of how they play on the counter-attack. Strong defence with a phenomenal array of talent. But yeah, I mean, as I've said, guys, there are going to be so many more easier games to come for Leeds United. And for goodness sake, we've already seen the media rubbish already, have we? Oh, Leeds the exact same as last season. Is it second season syndrome? No, it's not. We just seem to struggle at Old Trafford. And it hurts. It really, really hurts, like, badly, because, I know in my heart of hearts Leeds are going to stay in the division. So going up and putting some better performances against the top 6 than last season, showing progression in that aspect, is something that I look for. I'm not naturally saying that we're going to go to Old Trafford and beat them, but forcing them close. If we lost 3-2, if we drew 2-2, amazing. But, when it's 1-1 and then 2 minutes later, you just capitulate and there's no bounce back, and then you're letting another and another and another. that's not what you like to see, because obviously that's not progression. But overall, guys, it is what it is. We have to move on. We just have to move on. This is a review of the game, and that's why, you know, it is what it is. I'm obviously going to start talking about this game. I'm not going to start talking about what's coming ahead in the next couple of months in terms of games for Leeds United. But we have to look forward. Everton at home, I still think I think we'll win that game. You know, I think we'll win that game. A lot of people are going to write us off now because we've lost 5-1 to a title challenger. I don't see that. I just think they have a real blueprint for Leeds, and I think we're going to struggle against them. Under Bielsa, I think we are, because I think Marcelo loves going forward. He loves attacking, which is a beautiful way of football, and it's the beautiful Leeds United strategy and the way and all this sort of stuff, whatever you want to call it, and all the lovely superlatives that are attached to that. But against teams like that, they are always going to come back on you with some real quality. And I think we're always going to struggle against a team like Manchester United because of that. So that's what we've got to prepare for most seasons. And I think lots of clubs have, but lots of, you know, you can normally edge them out and maybe a 0-0 or 1-1 here. But I think for the majority of Bielsa's tenure, we are going to go for them. And that might hurt us, you know, but hopefully with better quality players over the next couple of years, we'll be fine. Okay. Robertson, Costa. I thought, you know, when we're looking at the, you know, the overall of it, I would have liked to have seen Somerville. I don't understand why Helder Costa's been brought on in terms of the effectiveness he's brought to a game in general over the past year, and why Somerville just wasn't given a go. You know, the game's done. It's 4-1, it's 5-1, whatever it was at that moment in time. You know, with 20 minutes to go, bringing Helder Costa on, I thought that was a bit strange of Bielsa. I'll be honest with you. I don't understand that. I don't understand why. I mean, what's that going to do? You know, what is that going to do? Putting Helder Costa up against Luke Shaw. You know, at least with someone like Crysencio Somerville, it's an unknown quantity. Luke Shaw's probably not done his dossier research on him, which I'm sure like is presented to a lot of the Manchester United players and a lot of the Leeds players going into these games, who they're going to be coming up against, what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses. Crysencio Somerville would have been an unknown quantity. I cannot get my head around why you bring Helder Costa on at that moment. You know, he's not affected a game in so long. And yeah, I just didn't get that substitution. I would have loved to have seen Somerville. And, you know, Somerville has affected so many games in the 23s. He's put himself over Poveda now in terms of the pecking order. And I just think that would have been a real boost for a lot of Leeds fans. And that would have been a silver lining, wouldn't it? We'd have ended the game and we'd have gone, right, okay, we've been battered. We move on, which we've got to do anyway. But what did we see? Well, we saw Crysencio Somerville take on Luke Shaw twice and deliver 2 good balls into the box and show something. You know, so there'd have been a little bit more to take out of the game. You know, I'm sort of scratching at the barrel for that game to try and bring you guys positives. And the only positive is we've got 37 games left, which is amazing. We'll stay up. We'll do well this season. But we've been pumped by Manchester United, our rivals, the team that we hate the most. And they've scored 11 goals against us in 2 games at Old Trafford, which is painful to say, and probably will stick with me until we play Everton and knock it out of our system. But it was just a strange thing for me today in terms of, you know, I don't know. And then you saw, you know, obviously you saw Rafinha getting very, very frustrated. It looked like he needed taking off. And I would have brought Rafinha off for, you know, Somerville. That's what I'd have done. I'm not the manager, but I'd have liked to have seen that. And he brings Harrison off, and then Costa comes on. I just found that a bit strange, but it is what it is. We move on. We dust ourselves off. That's what we do with Leeds. We're very good at bouncing back. We're an extremely good and effective team at bouncing back. And John Fields just said here, where can we get another Phillips from? It's a great question. It's a great question, and that you're never going to get another Phillips, because another Phillips now is worth what, 70 million. That's it. You know, you can be an opposition fan, come on here and hate, but he's worth 70 million if Leeds were to sell him. You know, that would be the price tag minimum we'd be asking for. So getting another Phillips is an extremely difficult thing to do, isn't it? But getting someone who is a central defensive midfielder, someone who can be molded into that role very, very quickly, who's not shy of getting hold of the ball. Someone needs to be, you know, I'm sure Victor Orta's got, as I've said, a plethora of people on his database, but someone who gets the ball in tight situations, wants the ball consistently, and is okay with playing second fiddle to Calvin Phillips. Now, is there many of those people out there? I don't know. I've no idea. You know, I'm not a scout, but I'm not sure on this. Robin Koch going into central defensive midfield, Strout going into central defensive midfield. Some Leeds fans will think it's fine. I don't think it's fine, to be honest. We don't look like the same Leeds United, and we need to be moving the ball quicker. There needs to be more physicality in that central defensive midfield role for me. And that role, he needs to be an anchor, an anchor to absolutely everybody, and to bring the team together. And to find a player like that is a very difficult task. But teams do it, don't they? Teams are able to do it. So we'll have to wait and see on that one, guys. I've been talking for 28 minutes now. I apologize for that. Hello, mate. It's Michael. Great content. Are you worried? Thanks for the donation, buddy. Or is it too early? Will O'Brien's sign left out of the squad, mate? Well, yeah, we'll have to wait with O'Brien. I don't 100% know. I know Leeds, obviously, he's on a long list, but I don't know whether or not Leeds are going to be looking to get that one done. O'Brien is someone who is good on the ball, wants the ball in tight situations. I can tell you that for a fact. Loves getting it on the back foot and spraying the ball. So he's someone who I can see fitting into this Leeds side. And I've said on the room mill before, do I think that he's someone who Leeds are going for? I do think that, whoever said whatever, it doesn't matter. Things can still be going on behind the scenes. And I do think Leeds are very much going for O'Brien, but we'll have to wait and see on that one. But Leeds need someone in that defensive midfield role for me. And I think for a lot of Leeds fans, we need a central defensive midfielder, a midfielder, a 6 who can mold into a 4 or whatever. And we need a winger. If we're going to use Crysencio Somerville and he's going to be great, fantastic. We don't need a winger. But if we're not, and Helder Costa is going to be the option off the bench, we need a winger. And that's putting a lot of pressure on Crysencio Somerville, to be just a breakout star, like Jack Clark was that season, to be a Jack Clark in terms of impact. That's a very, very tall order. So I think Leeds need a winger, and I think we need a central defensive midfielder, and I feel that was so obvious today. The depth off the bench is always going to be paled into comparison to theirs. The amount of money they've spent, is ridiculous over the years. So it's never going to be, that level or anywhere near to that. But Costa and Roberts, as we all have seen, it's not that next level up, and we need that next level up, don't we? If we're looking to get into that next, stratosphere of even just finishing above 9th, which a lot of people think we can do. But yeah, guys, I think that is how I'm gonna leave it. Bobby, thanks for the donation, buddy. Not to be reactionary, but I do think we need players with that quality and don't have any subs that can impact the game at all. I'd agree, Bobby. I think not being reactionary is key. We've got 37 games left. I think we're all just gutted. We're all gutted. We're all heartbroken. We're talking about the game. I can see you guys all chatting with each other. Loads of comments been coming in. If you haven't liked the video, guys, please do us a solid and like it. I'm sure we'll have loads of Man U fans disliking it. So all you Leeds fans, give it a like. If you are new to the channel, subscribe, of course. But listen, it's a tough one to take, and move on is what a lot of people say, but it's difficult to do that. It's difficult to do that when you get hammered by your rivals 5-1, and it probably should have been more. It's difficult, but I'm sure tomorrow I'll think differently. I'm sure the day after I'll think differently. Llorente was a massive miss as well. Firp obviously didn't start. KP didn't start. So we've got 3 massive players there who haven't played for Leeds. But let me know what you think in the comment section below, guys. And yeah, I'll try my best to get back to you. I've been going for 30 minutes now. Hope you've enjoyed it, and keep your chin up, and I'll see you in a bit. Cheers, guys.